Hey guys, how's it going? Alright, we're doing a video. This video is about obviously replacing the stock original 525 chain on the DR650 to a super heavy duty chain. It's a 525 chain as well. On Vince's website he has heavy duty and then the super heavy duty. So I've gone with the super heavy duty. When you go and look at the model number and all that on RK, I think it's RK Racing Chains or whatever, they don't call it a heavy duty and a super heavy duty or whatever. They've got special numbers, but I suppose it's just the easy way of doing it. And we'll be able to see the difference. Basically the difference with the chain is that the plates and that are a hell of a lot thicker. Your pitch and your width are still the same. I will take you out to that bloody whiteboard again and just kind of like have a few diagrams and bits and pieces and explain that again what I've kind of like worked out, whether it's right or wrong or whatever, but I'm pretty confident I've got it pretty much down pat. It really bloody took a lot. Going to the websites like the RK website, it's just all over the bloody shop. And the chain that I've got, when you look at their website, it's for street riding and race bikes, basically. I think it was race bikes, super bikes, I don't know, something like that. That particular chain. It didn't mention anything about, for off-road stuff, but it was under the category. There was a category for off-road, and it was in there. But when you looked at the chain, I don't know, it's just stupid, even on the box. So that type of stuff. Then your 525 and your 520s and your 530s, and there's a whole heap of other ones, and pitches. I didn't know what a pitch was. Quickly, the pitch of the bloody chain is basically from that pin to that pin. The distance between there, that's what they call your pitch. And then when they talk about the thickness, which is your 525 and your 520 and your 530, it's the distance between there, which I'll show you out on that whiteboard. I'll stop talking about that now. So I'm going to have a shot at doing this myself. I've gone and got a bloody tool. I already had a chain breaker, but it was just a chain breaker. I've now gone and got a chain breaker and riveting tool all in one. It wasn't the one that I expected it was from looking online, which I'll show you in a minute. But anyway, the main thing I've got to say is that this isn't a tutorial. This is the same deal, but if this is for the guys that have come across this, don't know who I am, I'm some bloody idiot. So it's not a tutorial. I've never done this before. You're watching me having a shot at doing it. On the box and instructions and stuff that you read on there, they say, if you have any doubt in doing this chain yourself, don't do it. Take it to a bike shop and get it done. And because I suppose a chain breaking can be anything from a minor inconvenience to a major catastrophe, and that is it flinging off, busting open your bloody crankcase and causing just thousands of dollars of bloody damage, let alone flinging off and hitting somebody else or yourself and causing bloody damage to yourself. So anyway, I'll give you a look at this bloody this tool stuff. Alright guys, so before I get into the tool part of it, here is the box. So that's what it is. That says RK Racing Chains, and it is, as you can, I'll read off the screen, 525 GXW. So it's, I don't know, this is where it all gets confusing. So if you look there, what does that bloody say? High performance and road racing use, general street use. And this bike isn't a general, I don't use this bike as a general use. I don't do very much commuting on it, only if I just want to give it a bit of a run. All the Ks on that bike is basically done doing adventure stuff on it. So on the outset, if you don't know anything, and until you start bloody looking and reading, or if you have someone like Vince Strand Motorcycles that has a website and bloody has the stuff in, you can feel confident that you're getting the right thing, even though when you look at it and you go, shit, is this right? As I've said before, Vince would be most probably the most knowledgeable bloke here in Australia. He sells the motorbike, he sells all the bloody parts for it, all the modification parts. He rides a DR650, and he doesn't just ride around the streets on it, he takes it into the bloody never-nevers. So if anybody's going to know and you want to trust somebody, Vince Strand is the bloke to go with. So a little bit crazy, but anyway, I've done me homework and sorted out and given myself bloody headaches and everything and worked and tried and, well, I reckon I figured it all out. So it's a XW ring chain. Yeah, it's a ring chain, but it's an X ring, which I'll explain out on that bloody board too, between the O ring and the X ring and the non-O ring chains. The original is an O-ring chain. This is going to be an X-ring chain. Similar but a little bit different. So that's the actual chain there. And when I'll show you them up close with the other chain, you'll see how much thicker all these plates are. But the pitch and the inside width are still all the same, which is what makes a 525 chain. It comes with, that particular chain that I bought came with a rivet. I don't know, with master link I suppose is what I would call it. That's back in the days of push bikes. I don't know if that's what they actually still call them. But yeah, master link, and it's a rivet one. I've been carrying around a rivet master link and also a clip master link. And I've done heaps and heaps, and as you guys know, when you look on forums, everybody's got their own opinions, and some people never have a problem with clip ones, some people have problems with them. The one deciding factor, I suppose, is that you don't see anybody having a problem with a riveted master link, as far as I can see. I'm sure someone's going to go, oh! But there are plenty of people that have problems with the clip ones. I've seen people doing safety wire, bloody them on, and even that can still fail. And I've had, I read one particular guy, he went on a 6,000 mile bloody trip or whatever, and he always used a clip. And he had clips bloody failing, and it wasn't until he got to the 7th clip in his trip that it actually stuck and stayed on. So sometimes it's not necessarily how you maintaining your chain or how you're riding it, because all those things factor into it as well. But sometimes shit just bloody happens for whatever reason. All right. So I will keep the clip one, and that will stay with me because. Another thing, I always this was given to me ages ago by Steve Kramer Products, when the Maximus stuff and all that. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to use this bloody thing or what purpose it would be or whatever, because I thought, well, if the chain breaks, I don't need to break it because I got that. But the more I look into it, and obviously if your chain breaks, you might still have the rivet in there, and you need to use this to get the rivet out. So then you can grab your spare. And if you're on the side of the track in the outback or the Never Never or whatever, instead of trying to do a rivet one, it would be a lot easier to do a clip one to get you out of trouble, and then into a town where you could most probably use the rivet one, or just keep trying to go along with that one. So this is a lot what would I call it? Weaker looking, I suppose, than the other one. But anyway, I'm losing myself here, fellas. So that's all fine and dandy, that thing, but it doesn't do the rivet thing. So in my head I was going, well, do I still need this or whatever, or should I take the other one? This one's a hell of a lot lighter than this bloody other one, which I'm going to show you. So in my head I'm going, no, I can still use. This is still a good thing to have, and to carry my 2 spares. Done. Alright, let's go down and have a look at this other one. Alright, so first off, because people are going to ask me what the brand of it is, and basically it's an MCS Chain Breaker and Riveting Tool. Now this MCS, I think it's just a dealer name or whatever. As far as I can tell, there is no particular name for it. It is simply a chain breaker and riveting tool. I struggled to find any information about it. Now, why I had a struggle was I went to Elliott Brothers, which is the a dealer here in town, and basically they said, yeah, look, we've got one in stock. They had plenty of the chain breakers, but this was the only chain breaker and riveting tool that they had. Now it cost, well, the price was, he said it's $126.95. He said we've had it for bloody ever. It's the last one there, and we're happy to, you know, sell it off for $100 just to get rid of it. So when I went down there and had a look at it, we're bloody checking the catalogue to make sure, because it didn't look like there was enough bits and pieces from the ones that I seen online. But we checked and it seemed to be all fine. It came with this scratchy old bloody bit of instructions with it. I seem to manage to get bloody lovely stuff like that all the time. It came in a little case like that, which is all bloody, you know, broken up, and yeah, so it's been sitting in the archives in their bloody shop somewhere. Anyway, I've got it. I struggled to find really any information about it until I came across a video, which the guy, I just happened to click on it and I went, oh my god, this is the exact same bloody thing that I've got. And he went through the whole process of doing it, which was bloody fantastic. So now I'm really happy with it. And it's all solid steel, there's no aluminium in it. The pins, I was a bit worried about the pins because the one on this one's a lot smaller than this one. But from what he was using, he was pretty much the same bloody chain as mine, and yeah, it did the job. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a better one. Alright, so how do we use this bloody thing? Well, this thing here, this is what you break the chain with. So that's going to go into here. We'll screw that in. There it is. So you see that screwing in. This gets popped in here. That slots in there. Now this has an A and a B. Hopefully you can see that. Position. And we use the A position for breaking the chain, pushing the rivet out, and we use the A for when we want to push the, when we put the new one on and we put the plate, to push the plate over, and then we move it to position B and turn this around like that, and you can see it's got this little kind of like a flangey thing, and that's what you use to flange the rivet over with. So it's got all the little, it's quite a nifty thing actually. It's old school, and I love old school. It's just simple, and I'm just hoping that it's going to work. So yeah, you've got your little slots, so everything when putting it on the chain should just sit and be able to feel it, that it's sitting in the right spot, and then just do what you've got to do with it. Alright, so basically that's what the whole shebang would look like when you when you're looking online. That's what that's what you look at. That's right guys, I nearly forgot to bloody say. So following on from the previous video doing the sprockets, so I said I was going to go out and see how it rode around. So remembering that I've got the 44 tooth on the back, so swapped from the original 41, and I have a 14, which originally was the 15 tooth on the front. It's now, I've always used the 14 with the 41. Bloody numbers, you crazy. So I took it out, went out through the trails in bits and pieces. Fantastic, it was really good. And just being able to, I think the best part was being able to go a little bit slower. So in idle, when you're just putting along and you're doing a little bit of a technical thing, you weren't like having to, you know, pull in the clutch and stuff like. You could just go, okay, it felt a really good speed. And then on a couple of those spots, you know, when you go down steep stuff, and and obviously using the engine as a brake, that was really good because it was so much, I wasn't building up too much speed in the idle. It was pulled back a bit more, so that was really great too. Then I took it out on the bloody highway and thought, right, let's see what she'll do. And yeah, I mean, it goes bloody, you know, 110, 100, but it just felt like it was just revving too much. So definitely didn't like it on the road. On the trails, beautiful. So I definitely will be going back to the 15. When I break this chain, I'll swap that back to a 15, and that just gets me back to my normal stuff. And for the riding that I do around here and the trails and all that kind of stuff, you know, the 15 and the 44 is going to be exactly what I'm used to and what I like. It'll only be that I just only need to I wouldn't go any lower than a 14 on there, that'll be, you know, when I get into those sand and bloody all that kind of stuff, is what I'd just change it down to that. So I'm really happy with that setup. All right, we better. What we'll do now is we will go to that whiteboard, and I'll give you a bloody, I'll give you a crazy look. All right, guys. So stupid bloody chains. It's a bit bloody glary here, so if I'm looking a bit crazy, that's because of the sun. All right. So what we'll start with is the little black O-ring in your chain. Now, I don't know whether it's black or not, but there's a little O-ring, and there's lots and lots of them. So there's the chain. You've got an outer plate and an inner plate on both sides, and in between there is an O-ring. And at the factory, when they make these, in the center there is a sealed compartment for the grease around the pin or whatever it is, and they vacuum it in or bloody suck the grease in, and it gets locked in there for the life of the bloody chain. Never have to re-grease it or anything. The only thing that you ever lubricate on these is it's all the outer stuff. And obviously in the center there's a, oh, I can't make it, oh there it goes. You can just, that middle thing there, that's free to move around. So obviously getting grease in and underneath there, or when you're cleaning, getting grease out of that. So that's where the O-ring is. Look, I had chains on my bloody bikes, and they were just chains, and some were O-rings and some weren't, and that was as much as I thought, okay, cool. So the ones with the O-rings, I couldn't use hard solvents or wire brushes on them to clean them. I had to be careful that way. Whereas the postie bikes don't have O-rings, they've just got your non-O-ring, and I can do whatever I want. Wire brush, bloody petrol, clean them up, re-oil them, and away they go. So non-O-rings have been around since day dot. And they're still in use, and they're for postie bikes, anything like small motocross bikes and stuff like that. They're light, strong, very little friction apparently with them. But they don't last long because they don't have the inner grease bit. So obviously as time's gone on, bikes have got bigger and faster and all that kind of stuff, so the development of the chain has increased. And I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but obviously if you can lose a lot of horsepower just in your chain. You know, if it's all clagged up and like that, you can lose a lot of power to the back wheel just because of that. And even so much that when you have an O-ring, and now I'll just show you, so this is an O-ring. So that's the side view of it. Now if you were to grab that and just turn it and look at it from that way, or just a section of it, that's what the rubber bit looks like. So it's like a round rubber band type thing. When it gets pushed in between those plates, it actually gets very squared on the sides, and then it locks the grease in underneath there. But because it squashes down like that, that creates quite a lot of friction. You know, times that by the chain and all that kind of stuff. So what they've done is they've developed an X ring. I think they even have something like a Z ring and stuff like that. But if you notice, the X ring, same deal, except see how it's shaped like that? So when it goes in there, grease gets trapped in there, and in there. And as you can see, there's less friction points as opposed to that. So apparently the X-ring is the good bloody, the good chain because it has less friction, and of course you've got your grease trapped in there. So basically that's how that works, or how I understand it to work, and I'm happy with that. Alright, so on to the chain size crazy 522, 525, 530 bloody bullshit. Basically I've split it up. This is dollar value. So obviously that's your most expensive, next, and then least. So your 520s are your cheaper option, and that's why they're most A lot of people run with the 520 because a lot of stores and that will actually have stocks of the 520 as opposed to the other ones because they are more expensive. How do I do this? Alright, we'll start off with the pitch and the inner width. So the pitch refers to that pin there and that pin there. The distance between those two is the pitch. Now on all these chains here, the pitch is actually the same. On chains up that way and down that way, they're different. So that makes it easy. They're all the same pitch. But the inner width, which you've got your quarter, your 5/16 and your 3/8. So basically small, medium and large. Would you like fries with that? Very funny, Mark. So the inner width is in here. So between the inner plate and that inner plate there. The measurement between there is this measurement here. So obviously the smaller it is, the chain's going to be a whole lot lighter. Now the 520, you can have a standard 520, but then you can have a heavy duty 520, which means it's going to be heavier because it's got the thicker plates. But it is thinner, and it can, which means that it can actually take a thinner sprocket, which is where your sprockets come down here. Hopefully you can see that. Yep. So sprocket width. So your 520, and this is just fictitious. That's the size of your sprocket for a 520. The 525 is thicker, and then the 530 is even thicker again. So by having these ones here, this is going to be your lightest option, and then you just basically get heavier. This 530 chain is, for bikes that are most probably 1000cc and up, your big cruisers or big sports bikes and all that kind of stuff. They need it. They're a big bike. They've got a lot of horsepower, bloody, pulling on that stuff. So they've got to have that thickness. So in looking at that with this pitch, essentially that 525, and let's say that that's a 525. Well, actually it is. It's a 525 sprocket. This will go in this chain. It would go in that chain, but it's going to have a lot of movement. In this one, I don't believe it fits, or does it fit? I don't know. One way. Oh, I don't even know why I'm telling you that thing. If I don't know, why the bloody hell am I telling you? But basically, yeah, that's the thickness. How they worked out these fives and all that kind of stuff, it's really crazy. I watched a guy and he explained it was really good. But it was too much. It was like bloody, when they did the five represented an inch, and if you divided the inch by 8, and then bloody got this and got that, and it's just all crazy. So really, the deal is the 520 is X amount of size, then it just gets bigger and bigger, as you can see down there. So really, when you're getting your sprockets, you've got to make sure it's a 525 if you're running a 525. There are exceptions. I know on Vince Strand's website, he has a 520 16-tooth sprocket, which he says it's okay to use with the 525. And the reason why he has that is because you can't get a 16-tooth sprocket in the 525 range. But the 520s have a 16 tooth in their range, so he's already figured it out, worked it out, that the 16 you can run it in the 525, even though it's a 520, it's not a problem. You start saying too many numbers and it just goes all crazy. Alright, so that's it. O-rings, chain sizes and sprockets. Done. Let's get back down there. Hopefully I didn't look like an idiot. And that kind of like gave you a bit of an idea. For the guys that don't know, though, most of you blokes do anyway. Alright guys, it's the next day. As per usual, got waylaid. I've been tossing up between whether to use this chain breaker tool, because apparently you can use this without grinding off the pin, the head of the pin, just to make it easy to go through. But I've seen so many people breaking the actual tools. It works sometimes. One guy I watched where he'd actually he made the whole statement that it's supposed to be able to do it, and if you do it correctly it'll work and your tool won't break. And then I was watching a later video and he did a whole total reverse on it. He said, no, make sure that you grind off the bloody things and use the tool. And I'm thinking, oh well, I suppose I'm showing you what I'm doing, and I'm at home, I have a grinder, so why not use the bloody tools and make the job easier with the tools that I've got. I'm not trying to show doing this on the side of the road, so I'm going to go with the grinder. That's what I'm bloody getting at. I've got this little camera here that's going to try and get a close-up of getting it done. Alright, we'll get into it. I don't know. I can't see the round bit. Alright, we'll have a look. I suppose you can just see the round part there. Well, there you go, guys. That's the head of that bloody rivet cut off. I used a what do you call it? A cutting disc, not a grinding disc. I just had that from last time and I thought, oh, that'll work instead of just using a grinder. So now we'll set this bloody tool up and see how it goes. Before we do that, guys, it's just been bloody in my head and I'm thinking, well, what happens if someone wanted to attempt doing this and they didn't have a grinder in their bloody shed or whatever? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and hacksaw one of those rivets off, and also just a simple file, use a file to try and do it as well. So what you'll see now is some fast action on the on both things. So I'll do another 2 of those, just because that's the type of bloke I am. Alright guys, so I've been filing on this particular one for about, I don't know, about 4 minutes. So you can see I've worked it down a bit, but it does take quite a lot of effort, but it's doable, so you can do that. I'm now going to try the hacksaw. Well, there you go, guys. That's the hacksaw. I'm not going any bloody further because after doing it with a grinder, I tell you what, if you've got a bloody grinder, use a grinder. So this one here, zoom in on that. So that's with the hacksaw. And again, that's most probably only 3 minutes worth of bloody grinding on it. But if you haven't got a grinder and you've got those things, a lot of effort will get that done. Alright guys, so here's the bit that I've grinded off. What I've got to do is move that just a bit out to about there. Move you guys around a bit. So that now I can get this piece to sit over there and then attach it. Alright, now this might become a bit choppy with different camera actions. I'm just trying to get you guys as close as possible. So bear with me. Alright, so the first thing to do is to get this piece that goes over the back. That hole there has to go to the back of this grinded rivet. So that's got to be, and I can feel it, so it's sitting on that rivet now. Alright, so the next thing I've got to do is get this lined up with A, which means that that piece is going to push that rivet straight through. Alright guys, I reckon I've got all that lined up. It's a bit of a trick doing this little grub screw, just trying to find the right spot for it to go in. It's not very, it takes a bit. Nate had a shot at doing it and she seemed to get it pretty good. Well, anyway, alright, so that's the 27mm nut type thing, and this is a 19. I don't have a 27, so I'm just going to use a monkey wrench. Alright, so 19 there. Hopefully that might just sit there nice. So far it's seeming fairly easy. I know when I watched the guy did it, when he didn't grind it off, he got to a point where it was really hard, and then once it gave way, it was then easy to basically wind it through. But this is not tough at all. Oh, am I scratching my bloody thing? I am. Alright, let's go. Suppose, oh yeah, I can see the rivet coming out the other end. Look at that. There it goes. So one rivet out. So now hopefully if I undo this, and wind all this back out. Oh yeah, that duvlacky there is a bit stuck in there. Oh, okay, I see. So I should be able to just do that. And then pull that out, and hey presto, look at that. Alright guys, that was a lot bloody easier than what I was expecting. Oh, look, and there's an O-ring. Bloody ripper. How's that? So now I should be able to just pull this out. Hey presto. Cool. Look at that. When a chain's on that, that was our thing about the whole friction, and the chain can rob the power from the back wheel. I mean, you know, when you've got the chain on it and you spin it, it does that for a bit, but then it quite suddenly bloody stops. You do the front wheel, the only thing really it has as drag is the axle, but on this you've got that chain and obviously the gears and all that kind of bloody bits and pieces. But yeah, look at that. Beautiful. Alright, I'll stop bullshitting on and we'll start comparing the chains. Alright, the first thing I wanted to do was just see the difference in weight between the chains. The stock one weighed 1.8 kilograms, and this new one is showing up as 2.1 kilograms. And I suppose I should do for the Americans so you guys can see. So the 1.8, oh, I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it. It gets fucking too much. So that's 300 grams heavier with the new chain. Obviously it's a heavy duty chain, so I expected it to actually go up in weight. Cool. Let's have a look at the length of the two and the widths and all that kind of stuff. Alright guys, so I've laid out on the concrete. I didn't really want to put my bloody chain on the concrete on the floor with all the shit, but it's going to get worse on the bike. So there you go. That's basically looks like one link extra from what I can work out there. I wasn't going to count it, but I see on the box it says there's 112 links. I'll just trust him at that. I don't want to count 112. So I don't think I'm going to have to cut or adjust. anything. That'll just go straight on. And with the extra link, you know, I've got the bigger rear, and that's going to go to a 15. And I was well up here, so I think that's going to work out pretty bloody good actually. It's going to fit perfectly without having to do any extra cutting or anything like that, which is great. Alright, so now we've got to do the, just take a look at the difference in thickness. Alright, so obviously you can tell that the lighter one is the new one. Try and zoom without this thing bloody crapping out. I don't know if you can tell, but there is the heavy duty one is definitely what do you call it, got the thicker plates. So where are we? There. Each one of these plates here is thicker than those ones, but the distance between and the width between here and there are exactly the same. Alright guys, so now I'm going to get the chain and thread that through there. I'll just let you know that I've now just quickly changed over to the 15 tooth sprocket. Alright guys, so now we're going to put this chain on. There's no particular, I don't know, upside down, inside out or whatever. There's no rotation thing on it. I think the only time a rotation thing comes into it is if you're using a clip master link and basically the solid end of that clip has to be facing the rotation and the open end faces away. But we're doing a rivet master link, so it doesn't matter. Now I've already previously just loosened up this back wheel, so it's sitting right back at the moment, so I'm not going to panic when the chain doesn't bloody seem to fit. There we go. So it doesn't fit, but that's because the wheel is way back. So we move that up, and hey presto, look at that. Cool. So now we've got to get the link out and start doing that bit. I was just getting some close-up shots of the link, which I'll be showing that to you right now. And I was getting close up on those O-rings, and as you can see, I was thinking it was X, but I don't know why I was saying X, because on the packet here it says XW, or over here XW ring chain. So this particular one's not a straight X, because when I was looking at it, I'm thinking that doesn't look like an X as such. So obviously it's an XW configuration. So there you go. There's so many different bloody configurations out there. All right, we'll get these links on now. All right, guys. So I've got the back plate that's going to go on, but I've got to put two XWWX, whatever they are, bloody ring. That's going to go through there. Right, that goes there. Look at that. That bit's easy. Get the other two O-rings. They will sit on there, hopefully all of their own accord. Or not. Come on, stupid heads. Oh, they're going to bloody fall off, aren't they? Alright, I might have to get a little bit of grease to whack on that. Although it's got bloody grease on it, it should be sticking. Hopefully if I just dab the grease on here, should be enough to hold these on. Like I say, I love it when it works. Might do the same with this plate. Actually, is there a certain way that this goes on? Not too sure, but my instinct says this way. So there's no way I can use my fingers to push that over. So if I can, oh you bastard. What am I going to do? What can I do to just get that squashed on a little bit so it stays there? Might have to get Nay's help. Hang on a minute, guys. Alright, Nay's just got one of her little wood clamp things, so if you want to whack that on there, Nay. It's centered, and now if we I don't know if this is going to work, guys, but oh. So now you want to hold it against still. There you go. Beautiful. That did exactly what we wanted. Cool. So now we've got to move this around over here so we can use our tool, because we've got to get our tool around it. Righto guys, so now we've got to push this plate on using the tool. So the little piece that we used to push that rivet out, we now put that into this part of the tool, and it goes the opposite way. Slots in there. This little anvil piece, you can see it's got that round thing, that sits over that, and then this part of it here, you can see the grooves in it, that I'll be well, this sits on here, and I can feel that it's going to push on that plate until it gets to a certain point where it then hits onto the rivets. So hopefully this might be designed so that I can't push it too far, but I'm just going to have to take it really easy. Alright, so we'll try and set this up. Okay, so I've got our little piece there with the signs on it. I've just got to be careful I'm not knocking that. I might do it over here. Got to slide this on. It's got to be in the A position to do this. I reckon that's pretty good. Slide our little doodad on. Bring that over there. And then I've got to just feel those. Ah, there we go. So I can feel those, the two holes sitting in the pins. Slide this on in here. Slide this doovalaki on. Yeah, just got to make sure that that is in that hole. Oh, I can't see if it's in the hole. Is it in the hole? It's in the hole. Cool. All right, we are set. So basically hold. Oh, how do I do it this way? Same way as I did before. Hopefully you guys can see that going on. So the object is to not do this too far, so we don't want to wreck the O-rings. So I just got to kind of like keep an eye on it. Trying to get a visual to see whether it's lining up with the other ones. Wow, actually, oh, that's really tight now, I think. Oh, all right, I'm going to take that off and just have a look at it. All right, what do we got? So they're definitely both out. I'll have to just look at it side on. Okay, so this one here is the one that I've done. And what I'm trying to do is just make sure that, I'll try and eye it, that looks pretty much the same as the other links. I'm reckoning, I'm going to double check it once I get off this bloody camera, but I reckon that looks pretty good. Well, there you go guys, I've had a bit of an inspection with my short lookers, and I reckon that's pretty good. On the back it looks perfect. On the front, one side looks just a fraction out further than the other one, but the two rivets look good. And then when I looked at other ones, and I think it's just a bit optical, so I'm really happy with that. I got Nate to double bloody check it and get her eyes on it, and she reckons, nah, that looks pretty good. And when I did it up, that got really tight. So, and I think the way that this thing works, it gets well, actually, yeah, you can see on there obviously where the pins or the rivets, so this plate pushes on, and then it gets to a point where it just starts pushing on those rivets. Yeah, well, that makes bloody sense. I'm happy now. I was happy before anyway. All right, we've got to flange these rivets over. Okay guys, so now to flange each of those, or flare those bloody rivets over. Basically we've got to do exactly the same thing, except now we use the B position on there. And as you know, we've got that little bloody tool, so that's breaking and pushing the rivet through. That, with that plate, pushes the plate on. Now, that just goes into that tool like that. And that's what's going to go over and then tighten down and flange that over. Cool, so I'll get set up for that and give you a quick look. Now basically I've got the rear hole on the back of that rivet. Then we're just going to screw this, and that should just meet directly on that rivet. Yeah, look at that, beautiful. So now we've just got to hunker that down, and again I've got to be careful not to squash these plates. I don't know whether this is gonna, I don't know, we'll see how we go. Alright, here we go guys again. That on there. You guys will most probably be able to see better than me. I've got Nay keeping an eye through the camera. Can you still see that, Nay?
Yeah, just.
Oh, jeez, that's fucking hard. Alright, this is really hard with cameras on either side of me. There you go guys, can you see that? I can see that through the camera. That looks like it's getting close. Whoop. It's just scared the shit out of the dog. Oh, ouch. Oh. Alright guys, you get the idea, but these cameras are just in my way. I can't get any bloody leverage. Okay. Alright, we'll have a look at that. Ah, shit. That bloody hurt. Oh. Alright, so it's this one here. It doesn't look much bloody different, but if I go that way, what does that tell me? Don't know. Alright guys, so I've just moved it onto the other one. I'm going to give that a tighten up. Leave it at that, take it off, have another look. And what everybody says is that just do a little bit by little bit, because we don't, I don't want to do this again. You don't want to push it too much so that it actually squashes the chain. Yeah, so that's definitely flanged it over, hasn't it?
Yeah, that looks much better looking through this one.
Yeah. So just try and I'd have to loosen it all to bloody check it out to see if it's still got movement. Yeah, looking good. Alright guys, so that one was fine. This one here we just did a little extra push on that one, and Nate and myself are both happy that you can see that, like, it's hard to bloody do it. I should have moved the wheel a bit more, but both of those are free moving. Same as the rest of it. It's all very bloody sticky and shit, but yeah. So from we haven't squashed the plate, and looking at that, it's a very definite flange over. I don't think it needs to be anything more than that, so I'm going to call that bloody good. Well, there you go, guys. That's a bloody job done. We did it. So there you go. An average bloke can change his own chain, as long as you've got the right tools. Obviously, that chain breaker. I don't know. That's the only one I've ever used. Chain breaker and riveting tool, I suppose. Having a grinder to grind off that the rivet head made that process really easy. And yeah, just take your time with it. If you're going to have a shot at it, just taking your time with it. I know the video most of these types of videos go long and they show lots of stuff, but I know when I'm watching stuff, it's all those little bits and pieces that you miss out on, and it's nice to know when people are having a bit of a struggle, or how, just things like seeing how much they're pushing and having to look and check and stuff like that. I find that valuable, and hopefully, guys that are contemplating giving it a shot, that's not boring, I suppose. You can always skip. Alright, I think that's it. So really, I haven't ridden it yet. Just that chain bloody going around isn't a test, but I'm sure that's going to be fine. Alright guys, I think that's it. Keep on riding.